Hi, I'm Melinda Jean Stafford, and I'm a beekeeper. So this here is the ideal hive setup for our new package of bees. So you can see here that I have my hive on a stump to get it off the ground. And what that does is that gets my hive off the ground, out of the mud, out of the crud, and it also helps to keep critters and other things out of my hive. Getting it off the ground is a really great strategy. Here I have my base board, my hive bottom, okay? And I'm using a screen bottom board here. Next, I have my hive box, and inside of my hive box, I have frames, and I've used a lot of frames that have drawn out wax already on them. And what that does is it creates a lot more welcoming of a home for my bees that don't have any wax with them right now. Also, I have a feeder frame. I will fill this with sugar syrup so it creates a nice welcoming home for my new hive. And then I'm using this spacer, which is essentially just 4 pieces of wood. And what that'll do is it gives me an extra inch of space so that when I dump my bees into here, I have a little bit of room so I can still put my cover on without squishing bees. And then on top of that, I will put my top cover, and that will be my complete hive. This is my package of bees. You can see that it's a small plastic cage that has a feeder can here in the top that feeds the bees during transport. There's also a queen cage that is held up by this little metal tab here in the top. And the queen is kept in her own separate cage for a couple of reasons. It keeps her more safe during transport, but it also allows the other bees in the hive to get more acquainted to her pheromones as she's in a separate cage. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove the feeder can, but first I'm going to spray my bees down with a little bit of sugar syrup, which disables them from being able to fly as easily. So when I remove this feeder can to grab the queen, they don't fly out as much. I'm going to use my hive tool to pry this can up. A few bees might fly up, and that's okay, but I'm just going to quickly remove this can, spraying it with a little sugar syrup as I go, and then I'll use my other hand to quickly grab this queen cage, shake a few of the bees that are on it off, and quickly put the can back in to keep the bees in. I can see here that my queen is alive and well and moving around. That's a very good sign. She looks healthy. My next step will be to place her into the hive. Before I can put my queen cage in the hive, I have to remove this cork here so that she can eventually get out of the queen cage. I found that using a paper clip bent open is the best way. It has a really narrow edge that allows this cork to easily come out. So I'm just going to pry that out, cover the hole with my finger, and I'm going to replace where the cork used to be with some marshmallows. The marshmallows serve as a temporary but edible barrier so that over the course of a couple of days, the bees in the hive will become acquainted with their pheromones and will eventually eat through that candy, releasing the queen, allowing her into the hive more safely. My next step is going to be putting this queen cage into my hive, and I put it in the very middle between the 4th and 5th frame, or the 5th and 6th frame. And I want to make sure that this netting here on the front is facing outward and not up against the wax on the frames. And I'll use my metal tab to bend over one of the frames to allow it to safely hang. And then I will push all my frames up against the queen cage, putting the frame back together in its original orientation. Now I'm going to get my bees ready to dump into my hive. I'm going to place my spacer on top of my hive, give me a little extra room so that when I dump the bees out, they can form a little bit of a pile, but leave me some room to still put the lid on. Next, I'm going to liberally spray down my bees with some sugar syrup. This does a couple of things to make this process a lot easier. Spraying them with sugar syrup makes their wings sticky, and it disables them from flying as easily. What it also does is it allows the bees to clump together, so when I dump them into the hive, they kind of form a nice, coherent pile. And also the sugar syrup is a really harmless way to do this because they will clean each other up and it serves as a feed. So next what I'm going to do is just grab my package and move it over to the hive. Now I'm going to use my hive tool to open this door that's on one of the ends of the package. It'll snap open. I'll set my hive tool down and use my other hand to open that trap door the rest of the way and dump my bees into the hive. The sugar syrup keeps them nice and sticky, and they form a nice pile on top of my hive. Now I need to put a lid on these bees, so I'm going to grab my lid, take it over to the hive, and I'll softly brush some of the bees that are hanging out on that spacer back into the hive and carefully set my lid on top of the hive, being careful to squish as few bees as possible. You'll notice that there'll still be a few bees in the package that didn't make their way out. That's quite all right. Just set that in front of your hive and they'll eventually make their way into the hive. Seems a little hectic at first, but they'll settle in really quick. And that's how to install a package. Thumbs up.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out more information and products and supplies at mydbsupply.com. Keep your bees buzzing, y'all.